Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and with pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. We'll continue with chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So before that, let's do Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-shalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Satam Sajivam Tadvaitam Samudritam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kaltarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedant Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्द माधवं कृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Rama
हरे
Rama,
हरे
Hare
Hari Bol. Thank you everyone for joining. Welcome everyone. Welcome Rekha Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Nice to have you after your trip.
Yes, Mataji. It's nice to be back too.
You want to share something about Vrindavan or your yatra or any temples that you went to?
I went to the Radha temple in Barsana. I also went to Ishkon temple, the Krishna and Balrama. Frankly speaking, I enjoyed more in Krishna and Balrama. Like there, I could stand there as long as I want. Nobody was pushing me out. I felt beautiful vibes. They were encouraging us to do the Japamala after the Mangalacharya Aarti and Tulsi Aarti. So I felt nice walking in Vrindavan, the streets where Radha Krishna were. And I also went to the Janmastan where Krishna ji was born. Even there, I had a beautiful vibes. I just loved there. I wish I could have stayed longer. I didn't get to cover everything, but it was nice. Nice experience. I was there 3 days, but it wasn't enough.
Hari Bol. Yes, Mataji. But yeah, typically 3-4 days in the dham is enough. So next time you can do more.
Yeah, next time. Actually, we made a mistake. We had a car, and the cars are not allowed everywhere. Only rickshaws are allowed. So that's the problem we ran into every time.
Chaliye, I'm glad you had a very good time, and I hope you got to chant some names there, and you got the darshan of deities and attended aarti, and hopefully you did some parikramas, and that all is very, very
Yeah, we did Govardhan Parikrama.
very good.
We did that. We did
Yeah.
that. Of course, I got first time I attended Mangalacharya Aarti the morning 4:30 a.m. It was a different feeling.
Very good. Yes, Mataji. Yes, wonderful. Yeah, any of these temples, when you go to the cities, when you're traveling, you could visit the temples and attend the Mangal Aarti at 4:30. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in London, I went to most to the ISKCON temple. They were like, I was there 7 days, and 3 days or 4 days I just went in the evening to Ishkan temple, the one on Oxford Street. It's a small temple, but everybody made you feel like you're part of them. It was very nice too there.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. So we will get started because I want to cover a little extra today. So let's open our Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation or sannyas yoga. This is the last concluding chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but it is the longest and so many important points. And Krishna has included karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, everything in this chapter. So this is the summum bonum, the conclusion, the crux of the whole knowledge. So if we can read this chapter and understand it deeply, study, not just read superficially just for the sake of reading, like we read a novel, not like that, but actually study deeply, go deep into the matter of what Krishna is saying and how we can apply this in our life, then we will really benefit. Actually, Krishna has given the import of the entire Bhagavad Gita in this chapter. So we had read till verse 22 last time. And we had finished talking about, Krishna was talking about, so Krishna is giving about various aspects like knowledge in 3 modes, action in 3 modes, worker in 3 modes, intelligence in 3 modes. So he's giving different aspects of our life, various things that we do in 3 modes. So mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance. And that's a whole other chapter, also chapter 14, where Krishna has given us basics about the 3 modes. Ki satogun, rajogun, or tamogun kya hote hain, how they are the 3 chains by which Prakriti or Mother Nature is controlling each jiva, right? And some jivas have predominance of one mode over the other. Some have a mixture of all 3 modes, and nobody is really purely in one mode or the other. We have a mixture of different modes that are controlling us on different days or different times of a day, at different phases of our life. We are being controlled by different modes. So Krishna is saying everything in this world can be in these 3 modes, right? And so various things that we do, because we're talking about action or karma right now, how we do various actions, what is the motivation of action, all those things can also be in 3 modes. So Krishna mentioned that there are 3 motivations of action, for action. किसी भी काम को करने के लिए 3 चीजें चाहिए होती हैं, या 3 चीजें होती हैं that are the impetus or inspiration or motivation for an action. First of all, there should be somebody to do that action, right? And that's called a knower. So like I am going to do this action, so I am the knower. I am the knower of how to do something, right? Then I should have knowledge of that thing that I want. So I should have knowledge on how to get it, how much will it cost to get it, what will be my resources, how can it be created or made, or how can I approach it, why I want it, what does it mean, all those things, why, what, when, where, all that knowledge knower has, right? So the knowledge is needed. And then you needed an object or a goal of that knowledge. So something that I'm aiming at, something that I want to achieve by that action. So that's the gay or the goal, the object of knowledge. So Krishna then mentioned that this knowledge can be in 3 modes. Knowledge in the mode of goodness, knowledge in the mode of passion, and knowledge in the mode of darkness or ignorance, tamasic. So यहाँ पे हमने finish किया था. Or just, I'm not going to review everything again. I'm hoping that devotees are reading on their own and reviewing on their own, because it's hard to go back and review everything again, because the chapter is long, so we cannot review the whole chapter every time. But I'll just review these last three verses about the knowledge in mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So Krishna said that those who understand that knowledge, where you understand the superior nature of Lord in everybody, everybody कह सकते हैं, everybody, right? Everybody बोलते हैं ना, it comes from everybody, मतलब कि every person has a spiritual spark in them, consciousness in them, which is part and parcel of the supreme whole, or the part of a supreme divinity, right? Part of the absolute truth. So that knowledge that understands this is knowledge in mode of goodness. So then you treat people accordingly, right? You treat people with compassion or empathy or show mercy, forgiveness, tolerance, humility, right? All those things, all these great values come from the platform of knowledge and mode of goodness. When we understand that we are all part of the same supreme whole, we all have the same spiritual spark. We are all same spiritual spark, right? All our quality, the quality of each and every spiritual spark is same. चाहे वो किसी plant में हो, चाहे वो किसी animal में हो, चाहे वो किसी बर्ड में हो, रेप्टाइल में हो, एक्वेटिक में हो, डेमीगॉड में हो, डीमन में हो या ह्यूमन बीइंग में हो, राइट? ह्यूमन बीइंग ऑफ डिफरेंट टाइप्स में, सब में सेम ही स्पिरिचुअल स्पार्क है, एंड इट्स ऑल ऑफ द सेम नेचर, सेम क्वालिटी. So that knowledge, that understanding is in mode of goodness. That part is clear, right? Mode of passion में knowledge हुई when you mode of passion and mode of ignorance are on bodily platform now. So you are taking people on a bodily platform. You're thinking कि ये अलग व्यक्ति है, ये अलग है, इसकी soul भी अलग है, ये सब बिल्कुल अलग है मुझसे, and so you treat people differently based on their bodily identification, right? So that knowledge that deals on the bodily platform is knowledge in mode of passion. So it caters only to the body. So जैसे मान लो for example medical science हो गई, right? So it's mostly dealing with just the bodily aspect, right? Unless you really treat people according to the as part and parcel of the supreme, this knowledge is just in mode of passion, है ना? So when you treat people according to their bodily platform, then that is mode of passion. Okay, so there is some understanding, but not complete understanding. That is in mode of passion. So you're differentiating based on the body they have. So एक तरह की अविद्या है. Mode of passion और mode of ignorance में जो knowledge होती है, वो एक तरह से अविद्या होती है. It is not really true knowledge. It is not spiritual knowledge. It is material knowledge because it is on bodily platforms. So it is like avidya, right? और जो mode of ignorance है, that is even lower than the mode of passion. It is very selfish. There is no selflessness in it. There is no connection with the Lord. There is no understanding of any knowledge of the spirit soul at all. And this is completely for sense gratification, for personal enjoyment, and that is mode of ignorance, right? कि अपनी body को कैसे happy रखूं बस. That is mode of ignorance. So that is also avidya. So mode of passion और mode of ignorance की जो knowledge है वो mostly अविद्या होती है, और mode of goodness की जो knowledge होती है, which is sattvic, is the true vidya or spiritual knowledge where you understand that everybody is belongs to the same absolute truth. So this is where we finished about knowledge in 3 modes. Is that clear? The concept of avidya, is that clear? Is that new to anybody? Because we think that all this modern education, for example, everything that we are learning is basically avidya, right? Everything that is taught in schools and colleges today, there is no connection with the Lord at all. No connection with the Lord is taught at all, right? All that is taught is just completely on the bodily platform, right? But when you are taught the values, when you are taught, integrity or faith in Supreme Lord, when you're taught humility, when you're taught patience and tolerance towards others, then that is in mode of goodness, right? But when you are just taught the, maths or science or social science or history or all these economics, right? This is all politics. All this is just avidya. This is just catering to the body, and there is no connection with the Supreme at all here. So that is typically in mode of passion and mode of ignorance. Yes, Mataji, you want to share some realization or questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Just a question on this knowledge in mode of goodness. You shared that it's spirituality, right? So transcendental, like mode of transcendent, like when I have to define, like, not define, but then how do I understand what is difference between mode of transcendental knowledge and mode of goodness?
Mataji, transcendence की तो बात ही नहीं हो रही. Transcendence is beyond the 3 modes, right? Transcendence is completely just love and service to the Lord, right? यहाँ पर सिर्फ इतनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो रही है जैसे जो अच्छे लोग हैं वो कैसे काम करते हैं, जो सतोगुण में होते हैं, जो किसी का बुरा नहीं करते, जो किसी को हार्म नहीं करते, जो लोगों के बीच में डिफरेंशिएट नहीं करते, जिनमें अच्छी वैल्यूज होती हैं, राइट? दोज आर इन मोड ऑफ गुडनेस. दोज आर सात्विक पीपल. दे हैव दिस अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट देयर इज दिस वन लॉर्ड एंड वी ऑल आर हिज चिल्ड्रन And so we should treat each other nicely with compassion and forgiveness, and should be polite. So they have a very good culture. So you can think of a person with elevated consciousness, with a very good culture, right? That can be called knowledge in mode of goodness. So sattvic log, है ना? So remember the knowledge from chapter 14 कि sattvic log कैसे होते हैं? Sattvic log are very have a lot of those great values, right? They're not just about बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म कि कोई कैसा दिखता है या कोई कितना अमीर है गरीब है उसके बेसिस पे डिफरेंशिएट करना, या किसी के पास किसी की क्या पोजीशन है सोसाइटी में, किसी के पास कितनी फेम है या वेल्थ है या उसका क्या प्रोफेशन है, उसके बेसिस पे ट्रीट करना लोगों को, या इस तरीके की जो चीजें हैं दे आर इन मोड ऑफ पैशन, राइट? और बिल्कुल ही अपने ही बॉडी को जिस ध्यान रखना और किसी का कुछ भी नहीं सोचना, दैट इज कंप्लीटली मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस, राइट? सो जितना कॉन्शियसनेस एलिवेट होती जाएगी दैट विल बी मोड ऑफ गुडनेस. जितना कल्चर बढ़ता रहेगा आपकी लाइफ में, जितने आप कल्चर्ड हो, हम बोलते हैं ना कल्चर्ड लोग वर्सेस क्रास लोग, राइट? वर्सेस वेरी क्रूड पीपल, वेरी रफ पीपल, दैट विल बी मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस, तामसिक पीपल. और जैसे जैसे हमारा कल्चर एलिवेट होता है, वी आर वेरी वेल सिचुएटेड, वी आर सोबर जेंटल पीपल, राइट? दैट इज मोड ऑफ गुडनेस. ट्रांसेंडेंस हो गया कि वेरी मच कनेक्टेड टू द लॉर्ड. जैसे जो डिवोटी हैं, राइट, वो भी प्योर डिवोटीज, नॉट इवन मिश्रित भक्त लाइक अस, बट एक्चुअली वेरी प्योर डिवोटीज आर ट्रांसेंडेंटल. Yes, Amrinder Prabhu, you want to share something?
Yes, I have a question. Like, yeah, we are talking about like, okay, God resides in all living beings. It's not only human. It's like plants, ants, reptiles. So anything which grows over time, or so God lives there. So, but when we are talking about good mood and about like, okay, doing good, we always mostly talk about behaving good with human, behaving good with living, like mostly with the living beings and kind of with the human, not much with the. So how we take care of like, okay, the plants, the ants, we do so many, I mean, wrong things. I mean, with ignorance, there are some religions or some people like in Jainism or other, they kind of, they feed ants, they kind of, when they walk, they make sure that they don't kill any animals. I mean, I'm just like, how to balance those things. I mean, we mostly talk when we talk about just human, but I think there are so many jivas, or so many living beings are there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, so Bhagavad Gita doesn't talk about only humans. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna always says Sarva Bhuta. He says Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kankshati Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Right? So he always talks about all living entities. So we don't talk about only humans, but the self-realization or spiritual knowledge or this type of discrimination, this type of intelligence is only given to humans on how to behave with different living entities. So we can, so you're right, when we talk, we're talking about conduct of humans towards all living entities. We are not talking about conduct of humans only for humans. That is why one of our regulative principles is no meat eating, right? No killing of animals, no mercy. Mercy is the one of the pillar of dharma that we always uphold. So you're right, we don't practice any violence, and this has been mentioned in many verses by Krishna, that people that are cultured, that have very elevated consciousness, they are very careful of how they go about in this material world, that they do not cause any violence against any living entity, whether it's an ant or anything. So we always try to take care, we always try to move about in such a way in this life that we do not cause any harm to any of the living entity. And this is a very big topic. The basics is at least to start with no meat eating, to not and that is very basic, but then also animal protection, especially cow protection or any other animals, you know, however we can protect is recommended. We never engage in atyahar. Atyahar matlab excessive eating also. Even if you're vegetarian, you don't eat excessively, so you don't harm even the plants unnecessarily, right? You take care of the plants and living beings. So these are very basic teachings, but then there are many details. But that's why when you're walking, you may be killing ants, you may be inhaling microbes that are getting killed. Those things are beyond our control. But that's why chanting of the Mahamantra or yagyas are recommended on a daily basis. We should practice yagya or sacrifice on a daily basis. And chanting is the japa yagya that we perform on a daily basis to not only deliver us from these unintended sins, unintended crimes that we are committing on a daily basis, but also, to ask Lord to take us away from this material world where this kind of hinsa, intentionally or unintentionally, will keep on happening as long as we exist. So just by us existing, a lot of hinsa is happening to a lot of living entities that we did not intend. So by practicing japa, by practicing self-realization, by doing this great charity to yourself of attending Bhagavad Gita classes, we are making sure that we get out of this material world. And if we don't come to this material world, the less hinsa to the living entity. So we want to take everybody back to Godhead with us, whether any living entity, anybody. So it's like chant loudly so that other living entities can hear, plants can hear, animals can hear. When you go on a walk, chant in such a way that other the plants and all can hear you chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Feed prasadam to any living entities that you can see around you. If you have some pets around, then feed them prasadam, chant Mahamantra to them, and in general chant so that we can be delivered of these sins of committing harm, violence to the living entities intentionally or unintentionally. But there are many, many other ways also by which we can try to avoid aggression against living entities, and that's the very basis. You cannot be in mode of goodness unless you practice those restrictions, like no meat eating, for example. Is that understandable, Prabhuji?
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Yeah, that's
So yeah, Krishna always says bhoot. Bhoot means living entities. So he always uses the word bhoot, which means that
yeah.
I'm
No,
the
so
father
my
of
question is, yeah, that I
Mhm.
understand. Yeah, when by reading like, okay, every living being. So my question was mainly like how to balance. So I think some part of it you mentioned, like yaga and japa are the parts. So yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, please, you pray sincerely to the Lord that do not put me in a position where I'm causing any harm to any living entities just by my existence. But just by our existence, we are causing a lot of harm. So best is to get out of this existence in the material world. Okay, we'll move forward because I want to start with the verses for today. And then we'll see if anybody has any questions. Let's start with verse. So 23, 24, and 25, they come together. So we're talking about action. So Krishna will now mention that the work or action that we do can also be in three modes, right? Everything is in three modes. So he's going to mention work in three modes. He's going to mention worker in three modes, and he's going to mention intelligence in three modes. So let's try to cover all these three: the work, the worker, and intelligence in three modes. So let's start with the work or the action in three modes. Please, we'll recite and follow Bhagavad Gita 18.23. Niyatam sangarahitam, niyatam
Sangarahitam
aragadveshta kritam,
Aragadveshtakritam
afala prepsuna karma, afala
Afalaprepsuna
karma,
karma
yattat satvikam uchyate, yattat
Yattat
satvikam
Satvikam
uchyate. We'll recite the other two also and then read together. 18.24. Yattu kamepsuna karma,
Yattu
karma,
kamepsuna karma
sa ahankarena vapuna, sa
Ahankarena vapuna
kriyate bahulayasam,
Kriyate bahulayasam
tadrajasam udaritam,
Tadrajasam udaritam.
Okay, one more, 18.25. Anubandham kshayam himsam,
Anubandham kshayam
himsam,
himsam
anapeksha cha paurusham,
Anapeksha cha paurusham
mohad arabhyate karma,
Mohadārabhyate karma
yat tamassamuchyate.
Yat-tat-tamasamuchyate.
So this is knowledge in, action in mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Please, three devotees, take your turns to read these three, 23, 24, and 25. Yes, Avni, please read.
Text 23. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results is said to be in the mode of goodness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, text 24. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One more.
Okay, I can go for it. Yes, so
Yes,
text 25. That action performed in illusion is disregard of scriptural injunction, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others is said to be the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So पहले कृष्णा ने बताया the action in mode of goodness कैसा होता है. Action in mode of goodness is regulated, मतलब very very नियमित, very described, very prescribed or regulated action, like disciplined action, right? That is one attribute. So Krishna is mentioning many qualities. जरूरी नहीं है कि सारी qualities होंगी, but there may be some qualities there, right? Some qualities may be missing. But if your action is regulated, disciplined, prescribed, niyamit, niyatam, then that is a characteristic of mode of goodness. Sangha rahitam. Sangha rahitam matlab without attachment. Now this word sangha, I really want all of you to remember and pay attention to, because this is one of the things I'm going to discuss in detail today. So I want to make two very important points today, and this word sangha will clarify everything for you. If you remember this word, then we'll discuss this after a few verses in detail. We'll hash it out completely. So sangha rahita matlab without attachment. So just bear with me and let's get through these few verses, then we will hash it down. Then other attribute is arag. Arag matlab rag hota hai prem. तो बिना बहुत ज्यादा लव के, बिना बहुत ज्यादा अटैचमेंट के, बिना बहुत ज्यादा कि this is something I find very very auspicious or very very I love this, so I'm going to do this, and this is something I have dvesh against, yeah, hatred or repulsion, so I'm not going to do this. So mode of goodness people do not have too much rag or dvesh, matlab too much love or hatred, too much attachment or repulsion, right? So they are very sober, they are very equipoised, they are very equanimous, they treat things very equally. So they're not too attached to good or too attached to repulsed from the bad. They know that the good and bad, rag and dvesh, are just the qualities of this material world. Okay? Then afala. Afala matlab they do not desire the fruits of that activity. They do not desire they do not have any fruitive desires. Prepshuna karma. So this type of afala prepshuna matlab without any desires of fruitive results. Mataji, we'll take some questions later. Let me get through these few verses. This will become very clear. अभी ऐसा होता है ना, जैसे हम मूवी के बीच में हैं तो समझ नहीं आएगा कि क्या हो रहा है. तो जब मूवी के खत्म होने वाली होगी तो थोड़ा समझ आएगा. So अभी we are just establishing the nature of the characters. एक मूवी के जैसे character build-up होता है ना, अभी character build-up हो रहा है, इसलिए कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा. It's okay. Let's just get through these few verses, then I'll break it down, like I said. But just understand that person in mode of goodness is very regulated, very disciplined, very not much attached to the results of that action. They're not very attached to the dualities of this world, like rag and dvesh, and they're not they're without any attachments. Okay, they're not very attached to a particular action कि यही करना है, ऐसा ही है. So they're very sober people. They're very gentle people. They are, imagine जैसे कि कोई exercise करता है. कोई व्यक्ति exercise कर रहा है इस भाव से कि I should maintain my body because this body is given to me by Krishna. It will keep me healthy, है ना? So वो नियमित रूप से, regulated रूप से, prescribed रूप से रोज थोड़ी थोड़ी exercise करता है, right? तो ये हो गया mode of goodness में. उसको कोई ऐसे फल की चिंता नहीं है कि मैं ऐसे बहुत एक्सरसाइज करके बहुत ज्यादा बॉडी, बहुत उग्र तरीके से अग्रेसिव एक्सरसाइज करके इतनी बॉडी बना लूंगा कि बहुत सारी women को मैं attract करूंगा, मेरी lusty desires fulfill होंगी, right? ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, उसको बस शांत भाव से अपना health रखने के लिए in a very sober way, regulated, prescribed way. Prescription कैसे होती है? दवाई कैसे खाते हैं हम? Prescription का मतलब समझिए, everybody says prescribed या regulated. दवाई बस उतनी ही खाते हैं जितनी दी जाती है, राइट? उससे बहुत ज्यादा भी नहीं खाते, कम भी डोज नहीं खाते. इसी तरीके से वो व्यक्ति ऐसे काम करता है जितना उसको चाहिए काम करना, टू मेंटेन द बॉडी, टू मेंटेन द फैमिली, टू मेंटेन his situation in this material world, and he's not very he does not go very crazy about an action. He's not very overly ambitious or very overly attached, right? So that is the position of a person in mode of goodness, a sattvic person. फिर मोड ऑफ पैशन को लेते हैं थोड़ा, पैशन एंड इग्नोरेंस, एंड देन विल पुट इट ऑल टुगेदर. फिर जो मोड ऑफ पैशन वाला व्यक्ति है, ही इज वर्किंग विद डिजायर फॉर फ्रूटिव रिजल्ट्स. अब उसको क्या चाहिए? उसको कुछ उसका पर्सनल गेन, कुछ पर्सनल सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन या कुछ उसको अप्रिसिएशन के लिए, एक्नॉलेजमेंट के लिए वो कोई एक्शन करेगा. किसी पर्टिकुलर ग्रेटिफिकेशन होगी उसकी. somehow his ego, his pride will be fulfilled. अहंकारेण, अहंकार से या प्राइड के लिए वो काम करेगा, किसी फ्रूटिव रिजल्ट को पूरा करने के लिए वो काम करेगा, ठीक है. और बहुला आयासम, बहुला आयासम मतलब बहुत ज्यादा प्रयास करेगा, with great labor, with great endeavor he will work. So these are the people that are very, very overly ambitious, very, very gung-ho about working very hard in this material world to fulfill their desires and sense gratification, and for their various types of achievements, various types of accolades in this world. बहुत सारे झंडे गाड़ने होते हैं जिनको दुनिया में, बहुत ज्यादा promotions चाहिए, बहुत ज्यादा पैसे चाहिए, बहुत ज्यादा name चाहिए, fame चाहिए, right? All this, honors चाहिए. So that those people are working very hard, very aggressively, in a very ugra way, making a lot of endeavors for their sense gratification and to fulfill their personal desires with a lot of pride. So this pride of doership, they have this pride, ahankar of the proprietorship and doership. कि पहले तो ये काम मेरी वजह से हुआ है. They have this ego, this mithya ahankar of doership. And then secondly, they are very attached to the outcome also, right? So, and they think that they are the enjoyer of that outcome, क्योंकि हमने अपने बलबूते पे सब किया है, तो इसीलिए जो मिलेगा वो भी सब हमारा ही है. So they are very attached. They think they are the enjoyer and proprietor of that result that they are getting. So that is in mode of passion, ठीक है. फिर एक बार मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस को भी लेते हैं. मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस होता है वो व्यक्ति जो बहुत जैसे कि अभी प्रभु जी पूछ रहे थे कि किस तरीके का जैसे लिविंग एंटिटीज के अगेंस्ट हिंसा करना, वायलेंस कॉज करना, दूसरे लोगों को हार्म करना, डिस्ट्रेस, दुख पहुंचाना दूसरे लोगों को, तो उसको अपनी ही पड़ी है, उसको किसी से कोई लेना देना नहीं. he can cause harm to others, he can cause problems or distress to others. He does not consider consequences. अनअपेक्षा, अनअपेक्षा मतलब उसको consequences की चिंता नहीं है. He does not know that these type of activities that he is doing will cause him bondage, anubandham, and they are causing destruction, kshayam, they are causing himsam, violence or difficulties, problems for other people. So even at the cost of causing problems to other people, giving distress to other people, he will engage in certain activities just for his own personal gains. So he's very deluded person. He's in mohad. Mohad मतलब delusion में है, darkness में है. So इस तरीके से वो काम करेगा. And disregarding the scriptural rules or injunctions. So for all tamasic people, disregard of scriptural injunctions will be given. So this answers Prabhuji's question also, that when you talk about violence against other living entities, that is the main, very basic pillar of dharma being broken. So that is very completely against scriptural injunctions or rules. So that person is very tamasic anyway. So they cannot be put in the mode of goodness at all. They are below mode of ignorance, actually, very ugra karma. So they are working against scriptural injunctions at the cost of hurting others, at the cost of causing violence and disturbance to others. They do not have any a concern for the consequences that it will bring to them. It will cause them anubandhan or bondage. Yam pash is waiting for them, right? Yamdutas ka pash is waiting for them, but they have no such consideration. So they have no consideration of consequences. So इस तरीके के actions जो होते हैं, they are in mode of ignorance. So, for us, for devotees, we are on, trying to be on a very different platform. We are trying to elevate our consciousness. I do not think that devotees we do fluctuate between different modes, but I do not think devotees typically fall in this category of action at all, mode of ignorance. So to most of you, you may not be able to relate to this mode of ignorance because we are either in mode of goodness or mode of passion mostly, right? कि हम लोग दुनिया में जाते हैं, बहुत काम करते हैं, बहुत ambitiously work करते हैं, कई बार बहुत aggressively try to achieve name, fame, promotion, ऐसा भी करते हैं, और कई बार mode of goodness में भी रहते हैं. But typically, at least we are not in mode of ignorance. But the point is to come to a platform where we are situating ourselves maximum more and more in mode of goodness and try to get rid of the lower modes, mode of passion and ignorance as much as possible. So आपकी activities जितनी हम mode of passion और ignorance में कम कर सकते हैं, that will be recommended. Okay. इतना अभी मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, but like I said, I want to break this down. We'll write this and break this down. What is going on here? What is Krishna talking about? इसको detail में समझेंगे. Is that okay if I go on to do next 3 more verses and then we'll take questions and realizations? Unless someone has any burning questions right now.
No, that's good, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have अगर थोड़ा basic understanding हो गया है तो थोड़ा और पढ़ते हैं, फिर सब इसको एक साथ रखेंगे. So the last 3 verses talked about action in 3 modes, कि हम जो काम करते हैं वो 3 तरह का काम हो सकता है, right? It could be against scriptural injunctions, it could be very violent and disturbing to others. So you evaluate your activity. Is my activity causing problems to others? Is it against Guru Sadhu Shastra? Is it is it very ugra karma? Then that is mode of passion, mode of darkness. Mode of ignorance or mode of darkness. Mode of passion हो गया कि जब बहुत ज्यादा हम अपने लिए काम करते हैं, अपनी प्रतिष्ठा के लिए, नेम के लिए, ऑनर के लिए, वेल्थ के लिए, प्रमोशंस के लिए, इस दुनिया में पोजीशन बनाने के लिए, बेसिकली बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म पे बॉडी को केटर करते हुए जितना ज्यादा से ज्यादा काम करते हैं, वो हो गया मोड ऑफ पैशन. ठीक है. और मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में हो गया कि जब आप डिटैचमेंट से एज ए मैटर ऑफ ड्यूटी काम करते हो, जब अपनी बॉडी का ख्याल भी रखते हो, स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ का भी ख्याल रखते हो, एज अ यू कैन थिंक ऑफ कि एज अ सैक्रिफाइस काम करते हो, एज अ यज्ञ काम करते हो, राइट? जिसमें फीलिंग ऑफ लव है फॉर अदर्स, जेंटलनेस है, जिसमें लोगों के लिए कुछ करने की है, नॉट सिर्फ अपने लिए, राइट? वो हो गया मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में, जिसमें वैल्यूज हैं, जिसमें लोगों के लिए हिंसा तो छोड़ो, एक्चुअली देयर इज मर्सी, देयर इज कंपैशन, देयर इज टॉलरेंस, देयर इज फॉरगिवनेस फॉर अदर पीपल. वो हो गया मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में. ठीक है. तो जिससे जब त्याग की भावना से काम करते हैं, विद डिटैचमेंट, कि ये सिर्फ मेरे लिए नहीं है, मैं सबके लिए, सबका अच्छा सोच के, उसमें हो सकता है मुझे थोड़ी डिफिकल्टी भी हो, बट दिस इज फॉर द ग्रेटर गुड ऑफ एवरीबडी, सो आई एम रेडी टू टेक दिस डिफिकल्टी अपॉन माई सेल्फ. दैट विल बी इन मोड ऑफ गुडनेस. इस तरीके का एक्शन है ना, जिसमें सैक्रिफाइस की भावना रहेगी, जिसमें आपकी जो हाई वैल्यूज होती हैं वो प्रोमिनेंट रहेंगी, राइट? बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म बहुत कम रहेगा और वैल्यूज पे जोर ज्यादा रहेगा, सैक्रिफाइस पे जोर ज्यादा रहेगा. तो वो हो गया मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में. अब कृष्णा बताते हैं वर्कर मतलब मैं जो काम कर रहा हूं, व्यक्ति, दैट जीवा इन 3 मोड्स. ठीक है. सो पहले हमने बताया काम या एक्शन इन 3 मोड्स, वर्क इन 3 मोड्स. अब हम बता रहे हैं वर्कर इन 3 मोड्स, कि करने वाला व्यक्ति या डूअर, कर्ता भी 3 मोड्स में हो सकता है. So it's pretty similar to the last 3 verses that we have covered. That's why I wanted to do this together. So let's read these 3 also. 18.26. So and you will see the word sangha come again. So let's read this. Mukta sango na hamvadi, mukta sango na hamvadi, धृति उत्साह समन्विता, धृति
उत्साह समन्वितः
सिद्धि असिद्धयोर निर्विकारा, सिद्धि
सिद्धि असिद्धयोर निर्विकारा
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते,
कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
We'll read couple more. 18.27. रागी कर्म फला प्रेप्सुर,
रागी कर्म फलाप्रेप्सु
लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचि,
लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचि
हर्ष शोकान्विता कर्ता,
हर्षशोकान्विता
Rajasa parikirtita.
Rajasa parikirtitaha.
Let's read these three. 25, 26, sorry, 26, 27, 28, right? नहीं, हमने किया नहीं read. 18.28, one more. Ayukta prakrita stabda. Ayukta prakrita stabda. Shatho naishkritiko lasa. Shatho naishkritiko lasa. Vishadi dirgha sutri cha. Vishadi dirgha sutri cha. Karta tamasa uchyate. Karta tamasa uchyate. Okay. So now we have covering worker or karta in three modes. So please read carefully, very similar to the last three that you just read. Let's have three people read these three translations. Whoever has not spoken would like to read.
I can read. Hare Krishna. Text 26. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. Should I continue or somebody else will read?
Sure, I don't see anybody.
Text 27, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Text 27, Hare Krishna. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hema Mataji, were you reading?
Yes, Hare Krishna. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you read the translation, if you heard the translations, you can see that we are talking about very similar qualities again. So mode of goodness वाला व्यक्ति कैसा होगा, worker कैसा होगा, कर्ता या doer कैसा होगा, he's मुक्त संगो, he's again free from attachment, संगा word आ गया ना, free from attachment. Okay, and remember we are talking about material attachments here. He's free from material attachments. ना हमवादी, मतलब अहमवादी नहीं है वो, कि अहमवादी क्या हो गया, फॉल्स ईगो है जो, मिथ्या अहंकार होता है जो, सो ही डज नॉट हैव दैट फॉल्स ईगो और अहंकार. सो ना हमवादी, अहम नहीं है उसमें, मी माइन सारा टाइम मैं नहीं करता वो, ना हमवादी. धृति मतलब he works with great determination, so this type of worker will work with determination. उत्साह, very enthusiastically, जो भी इसको काम दिया है वो enthusiastically करेगा. सिद्धि असिद्धयोर निर्विकारा, so he's not very attached to success or failure, but he does not get deviated or distracted by success or failure. Without wavering, he stays very equipoised. He's a dheer purush, he's a very sober person. So sober person is not very distracted by success and failure. Okay, siddhi or asiddhyo, but by getting perfections or failures in this world, he does not change his determination or his enthusiasm, right? So this type of person is called sattvika uchyate. So now think of actions when you do, you go to work, you do whatever activities you're doing, you're serving your family, you're working for your society or community or something you're doing, right? So you're free from the attachments of this world, ki differentiate karna based on bodily platform, on things, and इस तरीके से attached रहना चीजों से, right? So he's very free from attachments. He's not thinking of just his own personal gains and ego and pride and all this. So he's na hamwadi, he's free from ahankar. He's working with determination, enthusiasm, he's motivated, and he's not very much concerned with the success and failure in this world, right? So the best example that I can think of, the only, the greatest example that I can think of is Prabhupada in this relation. Prabhupada got the instruction to spread this knowledge of Krishna's instructions to Western world by his spiritual master. You all know that, right? And he got, does anybody know what year he got that instruction? What was the year when he got that instruction? Maybe Nagar Prabhu will know.
1931 or 33?
1922. I think
22.
1933 was the year of his initiation.
Oh, depart. Oh, okay. And then
30.
34 or something, he departed.
So 22 is when he got the instruction from his spiritual master to spread this knowledge in English-speaking world, right? Bhagavad Gita ka gyan, English-speaking world mein dijiye. That was in 1922. And when he came to US to finally accomplish that task?
67.
1966 or 66, right? 67 mein he registered.
67 mein ISKCON was established.
So 66 he came. So that's how many? 44 years of failure. 44 years he had continuous failure. Professional life failed, personal life failed. He tried to establish League of Devotees in Jhansi. That did not work, right? Back to Godhead magazine he started, which is such a success now, but in that time it did not work, right? So 44 years of failure. And then how long did he get the success for? From 1966 to he left in 1977, right? He left this material world in 1977. So that's 11 years of success. So you think, oh, overall a very big failure, right? From material considerations, very big failure. But was he distracted by those failures for 44 years when he came to US? Wasn't he just same equally motivated and always determined and just completely detached? And in both the situations, same, whether he was in Vrindavan or in New York, he was the same self, same equipoised, dheer purush, gentle, sober, calm, selfless person. Was he like that or no? Always very determined, very motivated, very enthusiastic, right? Never morose, never always joyful, right? So you can think of Prabhupada as an example in somebody, he's transcendental, of course, but here we're talking of mode of goodness, very similar qualities of such a person who is situated on a very elevated platform, very elevated consciousness. So his work is not just about me. So जब भी आपका personal gain के लिए work होता है, जिस सिर्फ अपने लिए होता है, that is always a very poor consciousness, that is always a very low motive, low inclination to do anything, low motivation for work. And so that is a very lower mode to work in. Mode of ignorance or mode of passion is a very lower mode to do any work in. And these kind of people typically, they're not very joyful. They're always very anxious. They're always very fearful. They're very morose, right? Agitated, because they're very attached to the outcomes. They're very attached to the success and failure in this world. And they're very attached to their positions and things like that. So if nothing else, they're very attached to their pride and honor. So in this way, person who's free from all those dualities, all that ahankar, he's free from material association, that person, such a high consciousness person in mode of goodness, he's very, he can be situated on a very high platform. He's very elevated consciousness, and so he's always joyful. इसलिए वो verse जो मैं पहले बता रही थी, it comes later on. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati, that he neither laments nor he's ever anxious, right? He's never lamenting or he's never blaming anything. He's never hankering or lamenting. So na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu. He treats everybody equal. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labte param. And that person is eligible to achieve my devotion, Krishna says. That person. So first of all, you have to rise to mode of goodness. And then you can achieve Krishna's devotional service. So Prabhupada, you can always also see that he did not differentiate between hippies versus other people. He was living among Rajvasis. And then he came to New York, Bowery Street or 26 2nd Avenue, and he was not differentiating between hippies. He did not see them any differently. He just saw the Lord in them. He just saw their potential, the spiritual spark that is waiting to be connected to Krishna. He just saw that potential in them and gave them the services accordingly and connected them to the Lord. He brought them from mode of ignorance, from very ugra level, from very low consciousness to the mode of goodness, and finally they became transcendental. So that is the potency of somebody who's on such a high platform. Let's take mode of passion and ignorance also. What is a worker in mode of passion? So same thing, जैसे हमने पहले action पढ़ा था in mode of passion, उसी तरीके से ये जो worker है, जो passion में काम करता है, राजसिक करता है, राजसिक doer है जो, वो कैसा है? He is रागी. रागी का मतलब वो खाने वाली रागी नहीं, रागी मतलब जिसको राग रहता है, जिसको बहुत ज्यादा अटैचमेंट्स रहती हैं. So he is very much attached कि जैसे सक्सेस ही चाहिए, फेम ही चाहिए, वेल्थ ही चाहिए, ऑनर ही चाहिए, यू नो, सुख ही चाहिए. तो इस तरीके की चीजों से, अच्छी दुनिया की जो सो कॉल्ड अच्छी चीजें हैं, उनसे बहुत अटैच्ड है. दैट इज अ रागी, राइट? कर्म फल प्रेप्सुर, उसको कर्मों का फल भी भोगना है. सो ही इज अ भोगी ऑल्सो. ही इज रागी एंड ही इज ऑल्सो भोगी. ही वांट्स टू enjoy the fruits of those activities that he's doing. And himsatmako, so he can he's always envious, he's always greedy. Lubdo and himsatmako, so he's always greedy and envious. तो ऐसा व्यक्ति जो बहुत ज्यादा प्रयास करता है, बहुत overly ambitious होता है. You may know some people like that that are very very ambitious, very very extra endeavors in their activities they're doing, and so they are very envious, they are very greedy, so they do a lot of prayas, and so they want to enjoy those results and they cannot bear anybody else getting ahead of them, है ना? जैसे एक बार मैं और अनीता माता जी हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे क्रैब मेंटालिटी, राइट? कि एक दूसरे को पुल डाउन करना, क्योंकि इतने एनवियसनेस है, इतना लोभ है इस दुनिया की अच्छी सो कॉल्ड अच्छी चीजों के लिए, जिसको अच्छा माना जाता है बाय मटेरियल स्टैंडर्ड्स. इस दुनिया में किसको अच्छा माना जाता है? सक्सेस को, नेम को, वेल्थ को, फेम को, राइट? ऐसी चीजों को, प्रमोशंस को या पोजीशंस को, राइट? ऐसी चीजों के पीछे वो इतने ग्रीडी हैं that they are envious of anybody else achieving those things, right? And so they are very also ashuchi. ashuchi मतलब unclean रहेंगे, क्योंकि उनकी थॉट्स इम्प्योर रहती हैं, उनकी बॉडी तो क्लीन हो ना हो, लेकिन बेसिकली subtle body, mind, intelligence and ego is very very unclean, right? Because they're engaged in very maybe fraudulent acts or greedy or lusty or operating on the platform of false ego all the time. And so such people are subject to joy and sorrow because they think they are the doer, right? So when something succeeds, they think, oh, maine kar diya, so they become very overinflated, very puffed up, overly joyful, right? And when same thing fails, they become overly sorrowful, depressed and anxious and irritated and all this. So they are very subject to joy and sorrow. So such a worker is in the mode of passion. So this person is bhogi, this person thinks I'm the enjoyer, this person takes credit for whatever he's doing and whatever outcome is happening. He's very irshalu or envious, and he's very apavitra or impure by his body, mind and words. And he's very easily agitated by joy and sorrow. He gets very easily overwhelmed by the joy and sorrow. And he's very attached to the work, to the fruits of the work, to the outcome, everything. So this is a rajasic or passion, or mode of passion worker. Let's take the mode of ignorance also, and then I'll pause. A mode of ignorance wala vyakti kaisa hai? Think of somebody, again, this word comes. He works against the scriptural injunctions, right? So ayukta matlab he's not connecting to the scriptures. Yog yukta nahi hai. If you remember, there was a verse in 3rd chapter that said yog yukta. So योग युक्त मतलब कि भगवान से कनेक्ट होना थ्रू स्क्रिप्चर्स, वो अयुक्ता है. दिस व्यक्ति इज नॉट वर्किंग अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्क्रिप्चरल रूल्स और अकॉर्डिंग टू द रूल्स ऑफ द लॉर्ड, अकॉर्डिंग टू द रूल्स ऑफ द गुरु एंड साधु. एंड ही इज प्राकृता. प्राकृता वो लोग होते हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा मटीरियलिस्टिक होते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म पे होते हैं. सिमिलर, सेम, सम थिंग्स ओवरलैप. सो इवन मोड ऑफ पैशन वाला व्यक्ति इज ऑल्सो वेरी मटीरियलिस्टिक. स्तब्ध, दे आर वेरी ऑब्स्टिनेट. सो गलत काम कर रहे हैं लेकिन कोई भी उनको रोक नहीं सकता, किसी की नहीं सुनेंगे वो. दे आर वेरी ऑब्स्टिनेट, सो दे आर वेरी हटी होते हैं ऐसे लोग. शठो, शठो मतलब डिसीटफुल, जैसे कि फ्रॉड करेंगे, करप्शन करेंगे, कपटी रहेंगे, डुप्लिसिटस होंगे, इस तरीके के लोग. शठो मतलब चीटिंग, जैसे चीटिंग प्रोपेंसिटी या कनिंग प्रोपेंसिटी रहती है, डिसीटफुल होते हैं ऐसे लोग. और नैष्कृतिका मतलब दीज आर इंसल्टिंग टू अदर्स. दे आर वेरी कॉन्डिसेंडिंग. ये लोगों का अपमान करते हैं बहुत ज्यादा. लोगों को क्रिटिसाइज करना, लोगों का अपमान करना, लोगों को इंसल्ट करना, उनके बारे में बुरा बोलना. सो ये हो गए इग्नोरेंस वाले लोग, ठीक है, तामसिक लोग. देन आलसा. आलसा मतलब लेजी या प्रोक्रास्टिनेटिंग करना, काम को डिले करना, राइट? आलसी लोग, निग्लेक्टफुल लोग, अपनी ड्यूटीज के प्रति निग्लेक्टफुल. तो ऐसे लोगों की नेचर कैसी रहेगी फिर, क्योंकि वो काम में वो सिर्फ अपने ही बारे में सोच रहे हैं, दे आर condescending and insulting to others, very very critical of others, very lazy, not really invested in the work that they are doing, working against scriptural injunctions, whimsically doing some action, very obstinate, not listening to their own, for the कोई कुछ बोलेगा उनके benefit के लिए, they're not listening to that, right? So think of somebody like Dhritarashtra or Duryodhan, right? They are working against scriptural injunctions, very materialistic, very obstinate. No matter how many times Vidura told Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan that don't do this, right? Or somebody like Ravan, no matter how many times Ravan was told that give Mother Sita back to Lord Ram, but he will not. Very obstinate, very haughty, and very expert in cheating, very cunning, right? दुर्योधन ने कितनी तरीके से duplicitous, cunning, deceitful behavior किया था. So many times he cheated, and then also lazy, and such people will always be morose. So these people will be vishadi, मतलब morose रहेंगे. They will be joyless. They will be always morose, क्योंकि कभी भी सिर्फ अपने लिए जो व्यक्ति इतना सोचता है, he cannot be very joyful. Only when you work from a platform of sacrifice, from self-sacrifice, with high values, in good consciousness, with good culture, right? When you perform in the mode of goodness, can you be joyful? But in lower modes, you will always be morose, you will always be agitated, you will always be angry and frustrated and irritable, right? So this type of person he's unhappy, he's not looking forward to the work, right? खिन्न रहते हैं. जैसे बहुत से लोग होते हैं ना, काम पे आते हैं मंडे मॉर्निंग को काम पे, अरे मंडे मॉर्निंग ब्लूज, क्यों नॉट, यू नो आपकी प्रिस्क्राइब ड्यूटी, आपका दिया हुआ काम है, आपका धर्म बनता है ये काम करना, लेकिन बिल्कुल दुखी आएंगे काम पे, बहुत ज्यादा इरिटेबल, लोगों पे लैश आउट करना, वेरी मोरोस बिहेवियर, राइट? So this type of people will be very and then they will be insulting and condescending to others like that. So this is a very very poor consciousness of a worker. So Krishna ने action बताया in 3 modes और worker बताए in 3 modes. I'll pause here because now I want to get to this discussion that I was talking about to see what's going on. Yes, Nirbhay Prabhu is mentioning a verse in the chat. Raga dvesh vimuktastu vishayan indriyas charan. आगे कैसे होता है? राग द्वेष विमुक्तस्तु विषयन इंद्रियश्चरन् आत्मवश्ये विधेयात्मा प्रसादम अधिगच्छति. So जो व्यक्ति राग और द्वेष से विमुक्त होके काम करता है, वो हाई प्लेटफॉर्म अचीव करता है, राइट? प्रसादम मतलब वो मेरी मर्सी अचीव करता है, वो मेरा उसको मेरा प्रसाद मिलता है, मेरी दया, मेरी मर्सी मिलती है. तो राग द्वेष से विमुक्त होके काम करना चाहिए. और इसी राग और द्वेष के बारे में I want to talk more today. So let's hear पहले किसी का question या पहले discussion करें, then you want to ask questions, either is fine.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So 18.23 there was one line, right? Without love and hatred. तो hatred का तो समझ में आ गया, but without love कैसे करें? मतलब
Yes, ma'am. Yes, इसी के बारे में बात करते हैं, राग और द्वेष के बारे में. So I think let's talk then. Let's talk about this. I want to make this very clear. I'm going to try to use this whiteboard. I don't know if I'll be successful. या फिर हम maybe we can just use the MS Word only. Because
we were able to see that. You want to try it?
I don't have that pencil with me.
Okay, that's fine. You can just use a Word document and then we can try it some other time and then
Sure.
use in class.
Sure. Okay. तो एक थोड़ा समझते हैं इस बात को. हम अपने आप को थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश करें. What is happening in this world? What is going on? माता जी ने बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा. Love, hatred तो समझ आता है, love नहीं समझ आ रहा. क्या बोल रहे हैं कृष्ण? So, and I'm going to put some verses also, or let's understand this point very, very nicely. So, now this point comes in Bhagavad Gita many, many times, and this point is over and over highlighted in Srimad Bhagavatam also. Again, I want to make this point crystal clear for all of us today. So, whenever a jiva, a soul, takes birth in this material world, right? So, by getting this body, he gets a body, right? A jiva takes birth in this world and he gets a body, right? As a result of getting this body, एक चीज होती है जिसे हम कहते हैं कि he is born into the dualities of this material world. He is born into the dualities of this material world. ठीक है, ये बात कई बार कई बहुत बड़े बड़े डिवोटीज ने बोली है कि दिस वर्ल्ड इज अ, इसका टाइटल है जो मैं बात कर रही हूँ, दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड इज अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ डुअलिटीज. ठीक है, तो हमें दो चीजें समझनी है कि डुअलिटीज क्या होता है और राग और द्वेष क्या होता है. ठीक है, सो अगर हम ये बोलते हैं कि यू आर born into the dualities of this material world, I want you to understand this. पहले तो dualities क्या होती हैं? Dualities होती हैं द्वंद्व और the two aspects of this material world. इस material world में या तो हमें बताया जाता है कि there is so called good and bad things. हमें ये सिखाया जाता है बचपन से ही, हम पैदा होते हैं into this duality. It is called so called good and bad things of this world. जैसे कि सक्सेस को अच्छा माना जाता है और फेलियर को, सक्सेस वर्सेस फेलियर, राइट, फेलियर को बुरा माना जाता है. हमें जैसे ही हम ये बॉडी लेते हैं हमें ये बात क्लियर होती है कि सक्सेस अच्छी चीज है इन दिस वर्ल्ड, फेलियर बुरी चीज है. ठीक है, हैप्पीनेस अच्छी चीज है और डिस्ट्रेस बुरी चीज है. ओके, ऑनर या फेम अच्छी चीज है और डिसऑनर या डिसफेमी एक बुरी चीज है. राइट, इज दैट क्लियर अभी तक? वेल्थ अच्छी चीज है और पावर्टी एक बुरी चीज है. ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं, so many you can probably keep listing. So these are called dualities of this world. So that is why this world is called the world of dualities. Okay, एक मैं आपको वर्स एक दो वर्सेस पुल अप करती हूँ to make this point clear. तो इसको बोलते हैं द्वंद्व. In this world there are so many द्वंद्वस like that. जैसे ये वर्स है, ये वर्स भागवतम में आती है. इसमें क्या बोल रहे हैं? Because of the actions of the Supreme Lord's external energy, the living entities are conditioned in contact with material body. जैसे ही living entity मतलब जीवा इस material body में enter करता है, ठीक है, he gets conditioned. और क्या होता है? The dualities of happiness and distress, birth and death, curses and favors are natural byproducts of this contact in the material world. जैसे ही हम इस material world के contact में आते हैं, जैसे ही हम ये body acquire करते हैं, तभी ये द्वंद्व, ये dualities हमें घेर लेती है. Okay, this duality of happiness, distress, birth, death, curses and favors, something we consider good or bad, so called good or bad, उसको बोलते हैं dualities of this world. ठीक है, I'm just explaining this point कि dualities क्या होता है. फिर let's see, भगवद गीता में चैप्टर 7 में आता है एक वर्स. ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट वर्स है एक्चुअली, 7.27. उसमें कृष्णा बोलते हैं, O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arising from desire and hate. ठीक है, तो क्या होता है? Let's go back to our screen. When we are born into this dualities, when we are born into this द्वंद्व of this material world, तो हम किसी चीज को अच्छा समझने लगते हैं और किसी चीज को बुरा, कि जैसे सक्सेस अच्छी है, फेलियर बुरा है, right? So but this is called in Chaitanya Charitamrit, it is said that to think that this is bhala or this is bura, this is good or bad, this is simply a mental concoction. This is simply manodharma. इस दुनिया में सब कुछ भी ज्यादा auspicious या शुभ नहीं होता. Everything is actually very inauspicious, everything is bad. चाहे वो आपको सक्सेस भी मिले, उससे भी कोई खास फायदा नहीं होगा. It will only bring inauspiciousness ultimately. हैप्पीनेस भी मिले, ये सब हमें अपने कर्मों के हिसाब से हैप्पीनेस या डिस्ट्रेस, ऑनर या डिसऑनर, ये सब चीजें बिना एफर्ट किए, बिना एंडेवर किए मिलती ही रहेंगी, राइट? So, but because of our conditioned intelligence, we start thinking something is good or bad, and that so-called bhala or bura, good or bad, is basically due to our own conditioned intelligence. This is called manodharma or mental concoction. So those people that want to get out of this material world of dualities, they become indifferent towards these dualities, right? इसीलिए बोलते हैं ना, मात्रा स्पर्शस्तु कौन्तेया शीतोष्णा सुख दुखदा आगमो अपायनास नित्यास ताम स्थितिक्षस्व भारता, कि ये सब चीजें टॉलरेट करनी चाहिए. इसलिए जो सिद्ध लोग होते हैं, सोबर लोग होते हैं, they not only tolerate bad, so-called bad things, failures, distresses, dishonor, and poverty, etc., they also tolerate the good things of this world. You have to tolerate success. You have to tolerate happiness. You have to tolerate honor, wealth, etc., because everything will have its consequences in this world, right? And everything will come of its own accord without having to try too hard. जैसे डिस्ट्रेस को कोई बुलाता नहीं है, वो अपने आप आता है, वैसे ही हैप्पीनेस को भी कोई बुलाता नहीं है, वो अपने आप आती है. तो हमें किसी भी चीज के लिए इस दुनिया में, चाहे वो वेल्थ है, चाहे वो ऑनर है, चाहे वो हैप्पीनेस है, चाहे वो सक्सेस है, बहुत ज्यादा प्रयास करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Because these things are very temporary. They come and go like seasons in this world. They come and go like शीतोष्णा सुखा दुखादा. जैसे शीत और उष्णा, जैसे कि winter and summer come and go, वैसे these things also come and go. And we will be wasting our precious human life if we are too attached or too hateful towards these dualities. So जब कृष्णा बोलते हैं राग और द्वेष, लव और हेट, जिसको माता जी पूछ रही थी कि लव नहीं समझ आया, ये लव या राग है, अटैचमेंट towards this so called good things of this material world. So हम material attachments की बात करें, so called good things of this material world, कि उस व्यक्ति को सक्सेस से बहुत प्यार है, उस व्यक्ति को प्राइड से, ऑनर से बहुत प्यार है, उस व्यक्ति को हैप्पीनेस से बहुत प्यार है, उसको वेल्थ से बहुत प्यार है, इतनी अटैचमेंट है कि उसको डर लगेगा अगर कि कहीं मेरी वेल्थ चली ना जाए, उसको डर लगेगा कहीं मेरा ऑनर चला ना जाए. He will always be very fearful. So somebody who has so much attachment to one aspect of this material world will be very fearful when the other aspect comes, right? Because they will come and go no matter what. It's like a pendulum. They will come and go. तो उसको वो हमेशा fearful रहेगा, वो हमेशा anxious रहेगा, agitated रहेगा कि मैंने इतना endeavor करके, इतना time spend करके, इतने पैसे इकट्ठे किए हैं, कहीं कुछ ऐसा ना हो जाए कि मेरे सारे पैसे कहीं चले ना जाएं, कहीं कुछ ऐसा ना हो जाए. और ऐसा तो कुछ हो ही सकता है क्योंकि we get all these things according to our karmas, according to our karmic reactions, right? They will come without endeavor. The poverty will come, or the distress will come, problems will come. We don't know which problem will come, but some problem can come according to its own accord, according to our karmic reactions, right? But a person who's very attached to these so-called good things of this world will always be very fearful of the very hateful of the, he will be resentful or hateful, उसको repulsion रहेगी, उसको द्वेष रहेगा from the, जिसको हम द्वेष बोलते हैं, राग और द्वेष. तो राग और द्वेष ये दो terms, that's why I wanted to explain to you. राग है इस duality की अच्छी चीजों के लिए, और द्वेष है इस duality की बुरी चीजों के लिए, so called bad things of this world के लिए उसको द्वेष है. उसको repulsion है poverty से, उसको repulsion है डिसऑनर से, उसको रिपल्जन है दुख आने से, उसको रिपल्जन है फेलियर होने से या कर्स होने से, जैसे जो भी आप सोच सकते हो डुअलिटीज, उसको उसके नेगेटिव एस्पेक्ट से रिपल्जन है. तो ऐसे व्यक्ति को बहुत ज्यादा एंजाइटी रहेगी. दीज थिंग्स, द गुड थिंग्स ऑफ द डुअलिटी आर कॉल्ड डिजायरेबल्स, या शुभ चीजें बोल सकते हो, ठीक है? इसको बोल सकते हैं ऑस्पिशियस थिंग्स. इस दुनिया में इन चीजों को ऑस्पिशियस माना जाता है, डिजायरेबल माना जाता है. और इन चीजों को जिनसे हम द्वेष करते हैं टिपिकली, उनको अनडिजायरेबल या अशुभ माना जाता है. दिस इज नथिंग टू डू विद स्पिरिचुअल रेल्म. तो इसीलिए कंफ्यूज मत कीजिए, शुभ अशुभ का मतलब यहाँ पे कंप्लीटली इन मटेरियल टर्म्स है, ठीक है? तो जब कृष्णा बोल रहे हैं लव के बारे में, तो वो लव या राग बोल रहे हैं towards these material dualities, not towards like Krishna or devotees or towards spiritual activity, nothing like that. We are talking completely about material things that people are attached to, or material things or outcomes that people are hateful or repulsive against, right? So what happens is, so this is where the rag and dvesh comes. So these dualities are giving rise to the rag and dvesh. Ye point samajh aa gaya, right? Now what happens is we start struggling very hard to get these. We struggle very hard through this human life because we are born into this body. We have decided this is desirable. Now we are struggling very hard to achieve that desirable, right? और अगर वो हमको मिल गया तो जो मोड ऑफ पैशन और इग्नोरेंस वाला व्यक्ति है वो बहुत ज्यादा प्राइड में आ जाएगा, पफ अप हो जाएगा, उसको इंजॉय करने में, भोग में लिप्त हो जाएगा, राइट? और अगर नहीं मिली उसको वो चीजें, तो क्योंकि मटेरियल स्टैंडर्ड से वो अनडिजायरेबल चीज मिल गई, राइट, तो वो एकदम डिप्रेशन में चला जाएगा, एकदम सॉरोफुल हो जाएगा, मोरोस हो जाएगा. और जब तक वो चीज नहीं मिलती, जब तक उसका एंडेवर का आउटकम नहीं मिलता, वो बहुत एंग्शियस भी रहेगा, बहुत फियरफुल भी रहेगा कि कहीं अनडिजायरेबल चीज ना मिल जाए मुझे। तो जब हम कहते हैं कि जब कृष्णा बोलते हैं डोंट बी टू अटैच टू ऑस्पिशियस एंड ऑस्पिशियस, सो वी ऑलवेज स्टार्ट थिंकिंग ऑफ स्पिरिचुअल थिंग्स। नहीं, थिंक वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मटेरियल प्लेटफॉर्म में, शुभ और अशुभ, ठीक है। जैसे सुख और दुख में, दुख अशुभ हो गया, सुख शुभ हो गया, इस तरीके, या हेल्थ शुभ हो गई, सिकनेस अशुभ हो गई, लाइक दैट। फ्रॉम अ मटेरियल प्लेटफॉर्म ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, फ्रॉम अ बॉडीली प्लेटफॉर्म people start struggling very hard, and they also struggle very hard to avoid the undesirables, क्योंकि उनको रिपल्जन है, उनको द्वेष है, उनको प्रॉब्लम है उस चीज, कहीं वो चीज मिल ना जाए अनडिजायरेबल, तो इसीलिए वो उसको अवॉइड करने लगते हैं। तो जब कृष्णा बोलते हैं वर्ड संगा, तो या बोलते हैं डिटैचमेंट, तो वो बोलते हैं डिटैचमेंट फ्रॉम दीज डुअलिटीज, डिटैचमेंट फ्रॉम दिस conditioning that we get automatically as part of acquiring this body. We get this conditioning that ये अच्छा है, ये बुरा है। तो कह रहे हैं इस चीज से अपने आप को हटाओ, इस चीज से अपने आप को डिटैच करो, then you will be joyful, then you will be able to enjoy the process of doing that work, right? Then you will be able to do things with sacrifice, with love for the jivas, love for the supreme entity, not really just for your own personal rag and dvesh. तो इस तरीके से if you decide to stay in this bodily conception, you engage with this world of duality, then you are in sanga, तब आप इस संग में हो। और अगर आप इस दुनिया से परे हटना चाहते हो, लिबरेट होना चाहते हो, मोड ऑफ गुडनेस और ट्रांसेंडेंस में जाना चाहते हो, then Krishna keeps using the word मुक्त संगा. If you want to be free of this sanga, this contamination of the material world, these dualities, then you should understand that these dualities are mental concoction. They are not real. They are a delusion. तो अब मैं आपको एक दो वर्स और दिखाती हूँ। दिस इज द वर्स फ्रॉम चैतन्य चरितामृत। द्वैते भद्रा भद्रा ज्ञाना सब मनोधर्मा, एई भला एई मंदा एई सब भ्रमा। द्वैते, द्वैते मतलब डुअलिटी, द्वैत की एक अच्छा है, एक बुरा है, टू एक्सट्रीम्स। क्या भद्र है, क्या अभद्र है, मतलब क्या शुभ है, क्या अशुभ है। ये सब ज्ञान जो है, ये सब ज्ञान क्या है, मनोधर्मा, दिस इज मेंटल कॉन्कॉक्शन। एई भला एई मंदा, ये सब, ये अच्छा है और ये बुरा है। एई सब भ्रमा, दिस इज ऑल भ्रम, दिस इज ऑल अ मिस्टेक। सो इन दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड, conception of good and bad are all mental speculations. Therefore saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake, right? तो ये सब एक मिस्टेक है। इसीलिए हम देखते हैं कि कितने भी पैसे हो, कितनी भी वेल्थ आ जाए, लोग कोई बहुत खुश नहीं रह पाते, क्योंकि और हो सकता है कि कोई बहुत पुअर भी हो, वो बहुत खुश हो, राइट? क्योंकि that was never supposed to be a measure of our success. That duality of wealth and poverty was never supposed to be. It was just a mental concoction of us to think कि अगर हमारे पास wealth होगी तो हम happy होंगे, और poor हैं तो हम unhappy होंगे, क्योंकि एक mental concoction थी। तो हमारे ये सब mind में है कि मेरे पास wealth होगी तो मैं बहुत happy रहूंगा। और ये वर्सेस हैं जो प्रहलाद महाराज बोलते हैं। He says it many times in this 7th canto that my dear friends, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. The last line I wanted to focus on, ये जो happiness हमें लगता है कि किसी particular duality से आती है, किसी particular attachment से आती है, that is automatically obtained according to one's past karmas, past reactions, right? Without any endeavor. तो उसके लिए हमें कोई endeavor नहीं करना पड़ता, just as we obtain distress without any endeavor. तो जिसको ये knowledge है, जो ये समझता है कि ये इस तरीके का चीजों में राग और द्वेष नहीं रखना, तो that person is in mode of goodness. एक और ये वर्स है, The saintly Brahman said, ये भी भागवतम की वर्स है, O king, the embodied living entity automatically experiences unhappiness in heaven or hell. किसी को heaven में भी unhappiness experience हो सकती है. Similarly, happiness will also be experienced even without one seeking it. इसीलिए एक वो book आती है ना, Happiness is a state of mind. Therefore, a person of intelligent discrimination does not make any endeavor to obtain such material happiness. तो इस तरीके के प्रयास करना कि एक पर्टिकुलर मटेरियल सिचुएशन में मैं हैप्पी रहूंगा, दैट इज जस्ट अ वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम. सो अ पर्सन ऑफ इंटेलिजेंट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, मतलब जिसके पास विवेक बुद्धि है, वो इन चीजों में बहुत ज्यादा अपने आप को अटैच नहीं करता, बहुत ज्यादा इन चीजों से उसको लगाव नहीं रहता. He's a little indifferent, callous of this type of attachments of this world. Let me see if I had to show you any other verse. एक बहुत important verse है, which maybe Nirbhay Prabhu remembers. 15.5. Yeah, I can open this. Nirman moha jit sang dosha adhyatma nitya vinivrit kama dvandve vimukta sukha dukha samagye.
Yogi parasthanam upeti chadyam.
That's a different one. No. Okay, I'll just open. I can't remember. Prasadam something. I forgot. Let's open. 15.5. I've not reviewed that verse in a long time. Let's see. Nirman moha jit sang dosha adhyatma nitya vinivret kama dvandve vimukta sukha dukha samagye gachanti amura padam avyayam tat. तो ये वर्स कंप्लीटली हमारा जो अभी तक पढ़ा है उसको समराइज करती है. निर्मान मोहा, so you are free from false prestige, right? कि मेरा है कुछ मोह. Nirman moha, that it's mine. You are free from that delusion. Jita sang dosha, you don't have sang dosh. Sang dosh kya hota hai? The fault of dosh or fault of attachment with this material world, association of this material world, entanglement in this material world, right? हमने भी संग दोष पढ़ा, right? संग के बारे में पढ़ा ना, मुक्त संग होना है हमें, संग दोष नहीं चाहिए, मुक्त संग चाहिए. वो कौन सा व्यक्ति होता है जो अपने आप को every day he is situated in spiritual knowledge and he is free from dvandva, dvandve vimukta. He's free from the dualities of this world and he takes sukha dukha samagye. In happiness and distress, he stays sober. He stays free from this duality of sukh and dukh. He's unbewildered. Gachanti amura padam avyamta. That person is intelligent person, amura, unbewildered person who achieves the supreme destination. So very important to become free from this sang dosh. तो हम यहाँ पे भक्तों के संग की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. जब हम भगवद गीता जो है वो हमें मटेरियल लेवल से ऊपर उठा रही है. सो हम किस संग की बात कर रहे हैं? हम इस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड का संग जो है, जिससे हम कंडीशनड होके स्टार्ट थिंकिंग दैट समथिंग इज गुड, समथिंग इज बैड, उस संग से ऊपर उठ के उस डुअलिटी से विमुक्त होकर द्वंद्वे विमुक्ता, इक्विपोइज्ड हो रहे हैं, इक्वानिमस हो रहे हैं, that situation is called mukta sangha, and Krishna says that is a very important consideration for somebody who is in mode of goodness. So that action, that actor, that worker who understands this concept of dualities of this world and tries to free himself from the rag and dvesh, rag for the desirables and dvesh from the undesirables, that person will be in mode of goodness. So Mataji, does that answer your question about this?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
I want to share one more concept. जैसे ये concept मुझे लगा कि बहुत important है share करना.
Hare Krishna, I have a question.
Yes.
So in this, how do we, when we think about like the relationships in this world, so how do we think about them? One is spiritual relationships, like relationship with devotees. So that we can say is okay, we're not talking about them. What about material relationships? That one is so again, my question is that one is like a devotee thinks about everybody the same, or should think about everybody the same. But we are not pure devotees, and we have more love for our near and dear ones, and we care more about them. So is that also rag?
If you are more attached on the material platform, then it is definitely there is a little bit of attachment, but the point about mode of goodness is that you are not you're equally unhappy जैसे कि if there is any problems in the world, somebody else is suffering, right? You are you are feeling distress at their dukha also, right? You're not in mode of passion or ignorance that you are like, oh, I just care about myself and my own family member, and what do I care if something bad happens to the others? So you are in mode of goodness. You want to do good for others. That is mode of goodness. Now, as a devotee, we are on a completely different platform, right? We are trying to engage in many activities where we are just preaching activities, या फिर spreading Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada's mission, Sankirtan movement, right? So that is the greatest good Prabhupada has said we can do for the mankind. So in that way, we can, increase, we can decrease our detachments from this world and treat everybody equally. But you're right, अगर थोड़ा बहुत attachments तो रहेंगी from this world because we are not pure devotees. But as long as we are in this body, we at least understand these concepts, and we try to elevate ourselves constantly towards mode of goodness and transcendence if we can. Can I make another point before I think this point you will all relate to very well, because now this will come from a platform of bhakti, या फिर talking from a level of devotee. And this is the crux of the matter that I was talking about. So we talked about knowledge in 3 modes. We talked about action in 3 modes. We talked about worker in 3 modes, right? And we decided that we should situate ourselves in mode of goodness. We should become more and more detached. Detached from the desirables and undesirables of this world, right? Try to tolerate the situations and all this. So ultimately, based on all our knowledge of Bhagavad Gita so far, Krishna wants us to develop these values where we are compassionate towards others, where we are living a life of sacrifice, where we show empathy, right? Mercy, a life of giving, a life of sacrifice, right? That is in mode of goodness or even transcendence. So not just me, but actually like sharing this knowledge, giving Krishna to others, be a gentle person, be a soft-hearted person, right? Not a hard-hearted, not a harsh, indifferent person who's just completely about himself, his family, and nothing else matters, right? So you're trying to become a very gentle, soft-hearted person. And so in a way, the best thing that we can do to rise ourselves towards mode of goodness, and this is what I was saying, to rise towards transcendence, is to participate in this movement where we read Bhagavad Gita, we share Bhagavad Gita, we teach each other, we discuss Lord's pastimes with each other, because that will cultivate the Lord's names. जैसे प्रभु जी भी पहले बोल रहे थे कि कितनी चीजें हैं जो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, जैसे निर्भय प्रभु भी बोल रहे हैं कि हमारे पास अटैचमेंट्स हैं जो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, या हमसे बहुत सारे पाप हो जाते हैं, कोई एंट्स मर जाती हैं चलते चलते, हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, क्या करें? Yes, because we have accepted this body, which is the most inauspicious or undesirable thing to have happened to us. ठीक है, एक जीवा, एक सोल जो इतनी प्योर स्पिरिचुअल एंटिटी थी, उसको एक कंटामिनेटेड बॉडी मिली, जिसकी वजह से उसकी ये कंडीशनिंग हो गई, उसकी अटैचमेंट्स हो गई, उसको ये उसके साथ ये वायलेंट एक्ट्स हो रहे हैं, ये सब चीजें हो रही हैं. This is the harshest thing that has happened to us. So to elevate us from this conditioning, the best thing you can do is to develop the love for Lord, and then to share this love, to share the word of Lord, to share these instructions, to share this love, to share the holy name, the books of Prabhupada with people, to spread the Sankirtan movement, to participate in the Leela, in Gauranga's Leela, Gauranga Sankirtan movement that is still going on, not be operating on the bodily platform all the time. We don't have too much time in this life, right, to cut down these attachments and slowly rise from ignorance to passion to goodness and bhakti. So that's why Prabhupada has given us a process where you can jump straight to bhakti, right? So that's what Prabhupada says from the first chapter, that you participate in this Leela, participate in Gauranga's Leela. It's still going on. And you can participate, you can be a part of Nityananda's mission, of Gauranga's mission, where you're spreading holy name on the streets and giving books to others. You chant the names in such a way that you start, tears flow from your eyes. You become soft-hearted, you become gentle, and then all those values that Krishna wants us to acquire in mode of goodness, कि empathy होनी चाहिए, compassion होना चाहिए, forgiveness होनी चाहिए, patience होनी चाहिए, detachment होनी चाहिए, tolerance होनी चाहिए, all these things will come by themselves, right? So that is the that is a position of a liberated soul. That is a position of a self-realized soul. Their vision is very high. That is why they're able to rise above the dualities of this world. So basically what I'm saying is raise your vision. अगर आप नीचे ही देखते रहोगे, अगर आप buildings के बीच में रहोगे तो buildings बहुत ऊंची लगेंगी. Unless you raise yourself above, you go up into the sky and look at the buildings, then only the buildings will become smaller. So we have to rise above these attachments and these dualities of the world. जो हम ये सब द्वंद्व को बता रहे हैं, अगर हम इनके बीच में रह के, जैसे निर्भय प्रभु अटैचमेंट्स के बारे में बोल रहे हैं, अगर हम इन सब के बीच में रह के इनको देखेंगे तो ये बहुत बड़ी लगेंगी कि कैसे, how can I cut my attachments? I always want wealth, I always want good health, I always want happiness, I always want best for my relationships and for myself. How can I rise above these dualities? How can I not have rag for these things? So you have to improve your vision. You have to train this knowledge, this intelligence, this action that Krishna is talking about. You have to train them to look beyond these temporary dualities. और इतना ऊंचा जाने का तरीका उस एरोप्लेन में जाना है आपको जिससे ये सब चीजें छोटी लगे. और वो एरोप्लेन है स्क्रिप्चर्स, वो एरोप्लेन है लॉर्ड्स नेम्स, वो प्लेन है भगवान के भक्त, राइट? They can elevate you above these dualities. So whenever you think, oh, I'm becoming very attached to this, these type of things of this world, I always want only the good things for myself. Yes, everybody wants, but let's attach more and more to these spiritual processes given by Prabhupada so that we can at least for most of the day be situated in transcendence, be elevated above these dualities. सारा टाइम नहीं हो पाएंगे, कई बार मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस में रहेंगे, कई बार मोड ऑफ पैशन में रहेंगे, लेकिन can we maximize our time where we are engaged in these spiritual aspects so that we become Brahma Bhuta? Maximum time we are on Brahma Bhut platform, on a spiritual platform, and that way we can be truly joyful, right? So from such a person's perspective who's always on a spiritual platform or is maximizing his spiritual activities, he will be truly joyful. He will be on a spiritual realm. So these dualities of this dukhalyam will become very small. He has elevated his consciousness. जैसे कि कोई सन के पास जाएगा, राइट? जैसे लॉर्ड है, जो जितना लॉर्ड के पास जाएगा, सन के पास जाएगा, उसको उतनी डार्कनेस कम होती जाएगी, राइट? तो अगर डार्कनेस कम करनी है of this द्वंद्व, of this detachment, so stay closer and try to stay as close to the Lord and his representatives like scriptures and devotees and songs and names. Try to stay as close to that sun, the light of the Lord. Then all this darkness of the material world will diminish. And all these good qualities of detachment and all this will come automatically. So we rise above the clutter of this world. लेकिन अगर clutter में ही रहेंगे, अगर हम बहुत छोटा सोचेंगे कि यहीं रहकर ही किसी तरीके से कोई जुगाड़ हो जाए, we'll be trapped in the clutter of this world. We'll be tripping over all these many obstacles that the material world poses, right? गिरते पड़ते रहेंगे. तो इसलिए अपने आप को इससे ऊपर उठाना है. और ऊपर उठाने का बेस्ट तरीका है कि भगवान के नाम के साथ एसोसिएट करो, भगवान के स्क्रिप्चर्स के साथ, भगवान के डिवोटीज के साथ एसोसिएट करो, एंड स्लोली एलिवेट योर कॉन्शियसनेस. दैट इज द नॉलेज. तो जब हमने नॉलेज के बारे में बात की थी, नॉलेज इन 3 मोड्स, vidya dadati vinayam. And so true vidya, true knowledge, not a vidya, true knowledge gives humility. True knowledge elevates your consciousness. True knowledge makes you soft hearted, it makes you detached. True knowledge makes you truly intelligent, where you are calm and sober and not angry, not harsh, not irritable, not anxious, not fearful, right? But poor consciousness is avidya, which gives you all those bad qualities. जिससे हम और ये भी बोलते हैं कि poor consciousness means you're impersonal. और प्रभुपाद ने हमेशा impersonalism को condemn किया है. Impersonal मतलब सिर्फ मैं और किसी से मुझे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. तो जितना हमारा personalism बढ़ेगा लोगों के साथ, right? तो इसका मतलब हम उतने ज्यादा लोगों के साथ connect कर रहे हैं. We are not that we are attached to just our family, but the whole world is our family. So we are on a very personal level with everybody. We are so soft-hearted, we are so compassionate, so gentle that everybody's dukkha is my dukkha, right? So we will not be harsh, we will not be agitated, will not be fearful, we'll be joyful actually, we'll be connected to people, we'll be very personal to people. जब लोगों के साथ पर्सनल होंगे तो लॉर्ड के साथ भी पर्सनल एक्सचेंजेस हो सकते हैं. लॉर्ड के साथ पर्सनल एक्सचेंजेस हो ही नहीं सकते if you are impersonal to the people around you and if you just about me, that is very impersonal. So lower consciousness people have impersonal attitude, higher consciousness people have very personal, attitude, and that further gives way to personal exchanges with the Lord. So that's where I'll stop. Yes, Mataji, you have some realizations. Please share.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna. So the question Prabhuji had, right, for the attachment with the family and attachment or love for devotees or spiritual association. So like in my own realization, how I understand, I just want to share that. And maybe you can correct me, Mataji, if this needs to be corrected. So for a family, the attachment that we have and the care and the love that we have, it comes under prescribed duty. That's my duty to take care of my, uh, parents or my kids or like whoever around me. So that's kind of the prescription that is given by Krishna. And then the attachment with devotees and like, the connection that we have, I find it as a constitutional duty that like these are the people or these are the way that will further take me to Lord. So that's kind of my constitutional duty. Like, and then the relation with others, like, those who are not devotees, those who are not my family members, how I should be having the relation with them. And that is where the actual discernment comes. Like, okay, how I can differentiate, like how I should keep my relationship with who. So this is where, like, I think under the association of the classes and all, like we are trying to learn how to keep that balance.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, thank you for sharing. Hare Krishna. Very nice realization. Somebody in the chat is asking, Hema Mataji, why do we wish happy birthday, wish for long life, happy life on birthdays, or perform yajna for prosperity? Yes, Mataji. So we don't encourage any of those things actually. That's why we say happy Krishna conscious birthday, meaning that you practice more and more spirituality, you become spiritually advanced and Krishna conscious. So we don't really say happy birthday. We'd like to say happy Krishna conscious birthday. Actually, when we sing on birthdays, we don't wish for a long life. We say, may you never take birth again, and may Radha Rani bless you. That's a very sweet song that we sing. So really don't, jitni bhi life di hai, wo that is according to Lord. So we don't really wish for life ki length jo hai wo depend karti hai on the amount of spiritual activities you perform. So you could live for 120 years but not do a day of realization of Lord in your life. So it does not mean anything. Versus a short life where you spend Krishna conscious time, then that means a lot. Yajna for prosperity also we do not condone it at all. So really those are karm kandi rituals, not really encouraged in devotional service. We do japa yajna, which is not done for prosperity, which is done for the pleasure of Lord. And on that note, I'll share a couple verses before we chant about chanting also. Yes, Prabhuji, please share your realizations or questions.
Yeah, so Hare Krishna Mataji. So I wanted to say about like the three modes of workers. So I believe that we all, I mean, all people in material life is having all three modes as a worker. It's like mode of goodness and mode of passion as well as mode of ignorance. So I believe mode of ignorance is like when we walk or how we do with the like living being, like with ignorance we harm so many things. So that is kind of our mode of ignorance. And mode of passion is like, okay, when we work or when we do for the material life, sometimes we don't have for ourselves, or maybe for our kids, for our like, we always wanted our kids or our near and dear to do good and us to do good. So that is our mode of passion. And like mode of goodness is like, okay, I mean, and mode of goodness is like, okay, we wanted other person to do good, or like our near or dear one to do good, or like everything, and have a like integrity and other behavior, honesty, integrity, and all those parts. So, and I believe those vary person to person, and that's how like I think like if we get more closer to the Krishna consciousness, the mode of goodness will increase and other things will decrease, and that's what I think we wanted to achieve, and that's why we are here together.
Very bold. Yes, Prabhuji, your beliefs very correct. This is what Krishna has mentioned actually in Bhagavad Gita chapter 14. Please read that chapter if you've not. Krishna says that we all operate in all three modes at different times, and in some people some mode is more prominent, and that's why we're saying we should make mode of goodness, or actually we are actually trying to elevate ourselves above mode of goodness. So even these moral values we are discussing in Bhagavad Gita, but we have to rise above these values also. So actually Lord's name, fame, glories, discussing his pastimes, engaging in his service and service of his devotees is actually beyond the mode of goodness. It's beyond the mundane values of this world also. That is only mode of goodness, which also binds you. It gives you pious credits, but will bind you. So we were trying to actually go beyond the mode of goodness also. But at least as per Bhagavad Gita standards, Krishna wants us to come to at least the platform of mode of goodness. But he says even in chapter 2 to Arjuna that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunya Bhava Arjuna ki in 3 modes se upar utho. निर्द्वंद्वो नित्य सत्वस्थो निर्द्वंद्वो बिना द्वंद्व के, जो भी हमने द्वंद्व के बारे में बात की थी वो हो जाओ, निर्योग क्षेम आत्मवान, and then you can achieve me. So thank you Prabhuji, very nice realizations, very correct. Prinka Mataji is leaving. Okay, Rekha Mataji is asking, I'm asked to do, I don't know Mataji, what is Vedrati Shanti? I'm not familiar. Whoever has recommended you that particular ritual or protocol, please consult with them. We have very set standards that we follow. We follow basically A, B, C, D, E. A is association of devotees, B is books, reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. We don't even distract ourselves by reading too many other books or other philosophies, because human life is not, our life in Kali Yuga is not enough to read all the books. So we just stay with the core books of the Bhakti Shastras, which is Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. C is chanting of the holy names. D is diet or prasadam, eating prasadam as much as we can. E is entering the dham, just like you did, or entering in Prabhupada's temples. They're all like dham. So any temples or pilgrimages, visiting that is also recommended. So A, B, C, D, E is the core principles, or the panchang of bhakti that we follow. Anything else is as recommended by any particular sampradaya. You would have to consult them for what is the recommendation for. If this is for material well-being and things, those are not very much recommended, because they ultimately bind you. So those are
Yeah, that's for the material, like they say Shanti in the house, more success. So somebody, my husband went to the astrologer and they said just do the Vedrati Shanti. So I was not convinced, because I feel whatever we get is based on karmas, not on the astrological planets, or like he was saying, when I was born, this was there in my planet. So just to get something, you have to do the aarti or whatever, or Shanti Puja. So I felt it's going to bind me into these things
yes,
if I
Mataji.
follow
Yeah, you don't
from
have
that
to do
perspective.
any of this. Yeah, once you come into devotional service, astrology doesn't really apply. So astrologers, because a lot of karmas are getting cut by your chanting, by your spiritual activities, that astrologers can only predict the karmas that you were destined to fructify, that you were destined to tolerate. तो वो बहुत से cut हो गए हैं, so you are beyond the realm of astrology now. So any astrologers will be bewildered. So you don't have to. We don't do any extra endeavors of demigod worship, astrology,
Okay.
various type of things to delay our karma. अगर कुछ कर्मा लगना भी है तो वो लग जाए in this life only. क्योंकि अगर अभी कुछ उपाय वगैरह करके नहीं भी लगेगा कुछ कर्मा, तो फिर उसको कभी तो आना पड़ेगा भोगने के लिए किसी और लाइफ में, and that is just not acceptable to a devotee. So we want to get out of this world in this life only. And so we don't want, अगर कोई कर्मा वगैरह है भी, जो भी बचा है, जो भी लगना है, वो लग जाएगा तो वो खत्म हो जाएगा actually लग के. So we don't need to delay the karmas by various rituals and things.
Okay, that's
और शांति वगैरह तो घर में आ ही जाती है, as you see. Your husband is so inspired to take your mom to the temple and things like that. Or so many things happening. You're going to Vrindavan, getting much and more mercy than ever possible with any of the other tantras and things.
Yeah. I'm very happy that in Pune he's been actually almost going every day to the temple, ISKCON temple. He started to enjoy it, so I'm seeing a difference in him.
Yes, Madhuri. एक द्वंद्व से चले इसको next time करेंगे. I just wanted to share a verse about the chanting of the holy names. This comes in Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very nice verse that I really like. Certainly that heart is steel-framed, which in spite of once chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hair stand on end. ये बोल रहे कि ऐसा स्टील का हृदय होगा आपका कि जो भगवान का नाम लेने से भी पिघलता नहीं है, आंखों में आंसू नहीं आते और hair doesn't stand on the end by हरि नाम ध्येय, भगवान का नाम लेने से भी. So by developing more and more our knowledge, our intelligence, our action, and the worker and mode of goodness, we're slowly softening our heart. But the most important is chanting the holy names, which should really, it will soften the heart. The steel-framed heart is the gift of this material world. क्योंकि इतनी conditioning है, इतनी द्वंद्व मिले हैं, इतनी ज़्यादा आदत है to avoid the undesirables and to take on the desirables that we have become very hard-hearted. We have become very impersonal. We have become very morose and very, conditioned. So we are conditioning a steel-framed heart soft ho jata hai by chanting of the holy names. So on that note, let's chant one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra together. Anybody else has any other questions, realizations you want to share? Nirbhay Prabhu, you want to share something?
Hare Krishna. I think you answered things very well, and I was also thinking about the same thing about astrology. There's a nice small snippet by Muglila Prabhu. We can forward that to Rekha Mataji. She can review that, and pretty much says what you said already. And
That will be great.
Yes, Mataji, we'll forward it then. Won't take more time from the class now.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Actually, I have a question. Maybe if time doesn't allow now, maybe we can discuss later. So on the karma, you said, like if there is something in our karma, let's face it, right? लेकिन like मेरे कर्मों का like अगर किसी और को impact हो रहा है, is it a thing कि मेरे कर्मों की वजह से कोई और भी impact हो रहा है? अगर हो रहा है तो shall I just put like attempt to delay it?
माताजी कर्मों की जो intermingling है, जो network है, it is very dense and we cannot predict it कि किसका किससे क्या influence हो रहा है. That is why I've always recommended you and everybody not to worry too much about it, not to think too much about it. It is not in your hands. So you do not sit and when you chant plan कि oh मेरा ये कर्मा से वो हो गया. We don't know. We are eternal beings. The network of karmas is very, very complex, very, very intertwined with many, many souls and many, many situations and whatnot. And किससे क्या कर्मा कट हो रहा है वो भी हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. हमारे हाथ में सिर्फ एक ही चीज है, that is to chant the names of the Lord sincerely and to do our spiritual processes sincerely, and that is all that is in our hands. You do not sit and worry about karmas, and you do not talk to the Lord about karmas. You just your karma is to do this process of bhakti very sincerely, very intensely. Try to soften your heart, like we said. Try to invoke the love for the Lord in your heart, and one name of the Lord can cut so many karmas that we cannot even imagine. So आपको ये सब सोचने की जरूरत नहीं किससे किसको क्या हो रहा है. We do not have any idea. We are very small, and this is very big and beyond our control, beyond our understanding. And
it is actually directly recommended in Bhagavad Gita also, right? That do not worry, do not try.
It is none of our business, basically.
Karma. It is do not try to understand karma as directly recommended in Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. Do not try to understand, never worry about it. You are in the process of bhakti now. In the process of bhakti, there is only one goal. I don't know if you heard our class the other day of Bhagavatam Katha. We did at Hema Mataji's house. There is only one goal. And the goal is to invoke divine love, invoke the love for Lord within us. So that अगर वो करने से बाकी सब चीजें अपने आप होती हैं, but that it is not our business. वो चीजें हो रही हैं नहीं, पाप कट रहे हैं, कर्मा कट रहे हैं, अच्छी क्वालिटीज आ रही हैं, situations ठीक हो रही हैं, क्या हो रहा है, कितनी सेवा मिल रही है, कितनी क्या हो रहा है, we don't know. लेकिन जो हो रहा है वो सब will happen as a byproduct of devotional service to the Lord. Your only business is to invoke the love for the Lord. जैसे एक बच्चा है, उसको बोलते हैं ना, वो आपके काम में पड़ रहा है, मम्मा ये अकाउंट अकाउंट्स बताओ, फाइनेंसेस बताओ, आपके काम में पड़ रहा है, आप कहोगे नन ऑफ योर बिजनेस, दिस अकाउंट्स, दिस ऑल, आपको कितने पैसे मिलेंगे बड़े होके, कितना मैं दूंगी तुम्हारे लिए, क्या छोड़ के जाऊंगी क्या नहीं, ये सब मेरा काम है, दिस इज नन ऑफ योर बिजनेस, विल यू टेल दैट टू योर किड और नो? या उसको आप सारे अकाउंट्स, उसको सारे बही खाते सब समझाने लगोगे? नहीं, this is none of your business. Your business is to do exactly what you've been told to do, to just follow my orders, follow my recommendation. And my recommendation is you study nicely, you play nicely, you these things, right? आप बच्चे को बोलोगे तुम बस इतना करो, अगर मेरा अच्छे से सुनोगे जो मैं कह रही हूँ, तो जो मुझे छोड़ना है नहीं छोड़ना वो मैं अपना देखूंगी. But the kid has no right to ask you कि क्या मेरे पास है क्या नहीं, छोड़ोगे आपके जाने के बाद, these kind of things, right? No, that's none of your business. Similarly, this karma is none of our business. Our business is to do bhakti, to invoke the love for God within us.
तो मतलब जैसे ये जो थॉट रहना है या कि वेलकम, लाइक जो कर्मा जो हो रहा है मेरे साथ उसको भी हम वेलकम करें, तो मतलब वी जस्ट डोंट हैव टू थिंक अबाउट इट.
आप भगवान से प्रे करो कि भगवान मैं ये सब अपने बॉडी के प्लेटफॉर्म पे सोचना बंद कर दूं कि मेरे साथ क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा, बस completely let me be surrendered to you, to your will, to your plans, whatever. नचाओ प्रभु, नचाओ से मते, right? So if you give me something bad, it is your mercy. हो सकता है बहुत ज्यादा बुरा होना था जो आपने कम करके दे दिया, या फिर कुछ अच्छा हुआ तो maybe I didn't even deserve it और आपने कुछ स्पेशल मर्सी करके दे दिया, causeless mercy. मेरे कर्मों में भी नहीं लिखा था कि मुझे वो अच्छी चीज मिले, लेकिन आपने अच्छी चीज भी दे दी, भक्ति दे दी, इतनी बड़ी चीज जो मुझे पता, जो कर्मों का जिससे कोई लेना देना ही नहीं है, राइट? और आपने हो सकता है बहुत सी चीजें खत्म भी कर दी जो मैंने I probably deserved worse, but you didn't give it to me. So just be thankful in that prayerful mood, and don't think too much about this. Just be grateful, attitude of gratitude, right? Just be grateful and count your blessings. Amrin Prabhu, were you sharing something? Prabhuji, please share.
No, I was not sharing anything. No, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, very bold. Thank you everyone for very nice questions, discussions, realizations. We'll continue our reading from next Sunday. I'll stop the recording and we'll chant one round of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra together. Vancha kaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tad bhaktaya namo namah. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.